Hi everyone, my name is Manoj and I'm one of your officers this year. Today I'm going to be explaining what an individual series roleplay event looks like, and I'm going to be walking you through some of the ways to prepare for, how to analyze the roleplay, and I'm also going to be describing a little bit of the presentation format, and how personally I would present part of this roleplay. So first to start off, this is a hotel lodging and management series event. This this portion right here is going to be the same every time in all your role plays. It basically says you have 10 minutes to review the information and prepare your presentation, and then you'll have 10 minutes to present. However, this isn't necessarily true this year, because for district this year, they changed it because of COVID-19. And instead, you will be able to access your role play scenarios between the window of December 3rd to December 5th, and then you'll have between December 7th to December 10th to submit your video. So in essence, you have a little bit over a week to prepare your roleplay presentation before you actually have to turn it in. And then we're going to get to the next portion of the roleplay, which is the 21st century skills. These are also very general, and they're not necessarily something you need to address every time, but this is more like a general approach, sort of like what you need to be thinking about, but you don't necessarily have to show these word for word. So for this role play, it's critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and then creativity and innovation. This is essentially saying that this is what this role play is about. These are general categories that it's going to hit. And then we get to the performance indicators. These performance indicators are crucial because they're where a large portion of your points come from. Throughout your role play, you're going to need to address them and describe their relation to the actual scenario, and you're going to have to describe how you're addressing it, and maybe even give some general examples to help you address what these different things are. For this roleplay, they are just detail the functions of room service, distinguish between economic goods and services, identify factors affecting a business's profit, explain the concept of competition, and describe factors affecting the prices of hospitality and tourism products. So then after that, we get to the actual roleplay scenario. The roleplay scenario usually ends up being one page. However, I'm not going to read all of it out to you. I'm just going to show you the most important parts, and I'll summarize the rest of it. So for this roleplay, they talk about the role player being the room service manager at Capital City Inn. This is a full-service hotel in downtown of a large city. And then the judge is actually going to be the general manager of the property. And the main thing they're asking you to do in this roleplay is to recommend changes to room service charges that would make the service more competitive to an off-site restaurant delivery. So if you look carefully, this is everything that the main part of the roleplay. Up here is who you are, who the judge is, and what are you being asked to do. And then as you go into the next two paragraphs, they're in a general structure. These are usually going to be background about what the business is like or what the company is like. Especially for events in the hotel lodging and management series event, that's the general structure. The structure will tend to change slightly based on which specific event you're competing in. So let's first look at this. So it talks about the hotel having 800 rooms. It's in a prime location in the middle of downtown. They have a room service menu, and they also have 2 on-site restaurants and a coffee shop. And now then they go into usually the background of the problem. So what they're talking about here is they're talking about how there are restaurant delivery services, right? So like if you ask Chipotle to deliver to the hotel, they'll come in and deliver to the hotel lobby. And this applies to a lot of other restaurants in the area. And because of that, the hotel isn't being able to get as much money from room service. And then in this paragraph, they go into specifics about some reasons why the hotel owner or the general manager believes that the room service charges are too expensive, which is why it's not doing as well. And then we go back to the statement of essentially the statement of the problem. You can call it that. Recommend changes to the room service charges that will make ordering from room service preferable to using a restaurant delivery service. And then the very last paragraph usually ends up being almost exactly the same every time. It essentially tells you that you're going to go present to the judge in their office, and that they're going to first greet you and then ask to hear your ideas, and then you'll present. and then the judge will conclude the role play by thanking you for your work. Okay, so after I'm reading all that, it seems probably like a lot, right? You don't know where to start, you don't know what the first approach is. Usually, what I like to do is, the very first thing I do is I write down these performance indicators. Because you now actually have a week to prepare, it's you don't have to worry about, and since you aren't actually presenting to the judge live in person, you have a lot more resources available to you in order to prepare. So if you actually look up each of these performance indicators on the internet, there's Quizlets all over the place, and you can find all sorts of web pages giving you information on what these different things are. And like, if you don't understand one of them, so for example, if you don't understand the difference between economic goods and services, you're only one Google search away from finding out what that is. Especially since the district is online, it's going to be very important that you take advantage of the resources that are available for you to use. So as a start, I gave a little bit of explanation for two of the 5 performance indicators. So the first one was detail the functions of room service. So then you talk about what room service is. So room service provides 24 access to food and makes it easy to receive food, but most importantly, above all else, it is about convenience. Room service makes it possible for you to order and have food delivered to your room. You don't even have to leave your room in order to get your food. It's especially useful when after a long day you want to come back to your hotel room and you don't want to worry about having to go get food, having to worry about these responsibilities. It helps reduce the responsibility on you and make it more convenient. Okay, and then I also gave a brief explanation about goods and services, goods being the physical items bought and services being different things a consumer can do to so essentially when a person pays in order to have a different person do something for them, so like waiters and waitresses or hotel lobby staff. What's really important with the performance indicators, after you've brainstormed, you need to make sure you incorporate them within the scenario. So the general presentation outline is going to look like this. You walk in, I'm assuming that this is non-COVID, right? And then I'll explain what you would have to do within the current video guidelines. You would walk in, you'd shake the judge's hand, you would ask for permission to be seated, and then you introduce yourself, and then you talk about who you are, what your general idea is, right? You need to start off the bat addressing like a general thesis statement, sort of, addressing this green portion. Okay, and then you launch into the PIs. Okay, you talk about you go down the list. Okay, it's really difficult for the judges to follow along if you're skipping in between performance indicators. If you go 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, even if that seems to make more sense to you, and a lot of times, not exactly in this role play, but in some role plays, it will make a lot more sense to do them out of order. Like logically speaking, it'll make more sense to do them out of order, but this is usually a bad idea, because judges can tend to miss your answers to performance indicators very easily, which can end up hurting you badly. Okay, so now I have to talk about what we do with PIs. Then you need to make the creative approach. You need to, after you've addressed all the PIs, you're addressing this question in more detail. A lot of the times, some of the best strategies towards addressing that question in detail is making a brochure. So I don't know if you can see it, but I made a brochure. I titled it Capital City Inn, put a little star logo, and I talk about room service renovations, room service improvement plan. So then inside here, and you probably can't see it pretty well, but I guess I'll just explain it. And at the top it says the restaurant charges $10 for a cheeseburger. However, when calculating all the prices that go into how much it would cost someone who orders from the room service, the same cheeseburger, it would cost them $20. So I start off with the statement of the problem. Why am I being asked to do this? What is this important? Why is it bad for the restaurant? That's what I explain to the judges. This is mainly like an organizational tool and a tool to help you like get your thoughts across effectively. It's not necessarily like an end-all be-all, like this is my entire presentation. It's just a tool to help you convey your overall message. So on the left here, I included what the problem is. So like what our competition is, the food delivery. I talk about why the food delivery is a problem for us, and I explain that the food delivery places are hurting us. So I talked about how the food delivery services are hurting their room service because they're taking business away from the room service. So I talked about some general ideas on how I would counter that, because one of them could be the current restaurant has room service costing more, like the items ordered by room service cost more than the items ordered in the restaurant. And so one of my ideas would be to create the same price there, and then also reduce the delivery charge and eliminate the service fee. These kinds of ideas will help reduce the cost of room service, which helps make it more competitive towards the food delivery services. So that was the general idea I had. Now I'm going to go through the presentation and explain to you how I would do it. So, okay. Hi, my name is Manoj Singareddy, and I'm a room service manager at the Capital City Inn. I'm here today to talk to you, the general manager, about some changes I'd like to recommend for our room service charges. As you know, we have been competing with off-site restaurant delivery very heavily, and a lot of the off-site restaurant delivery is much cheaper than the room service we have right now, which makes it much more appealing to our customers. Many of the residents at our hotel are avoiding ordering from room service and instead order delivery to the hotel lobby of various restaurants nearby. This is causing a big issue for our room service, and our room service isn't able to keep up, which is why I've decided to implement a couple of changes in order to address that. So the first thing we need to talk about, though, are what room service actually is. What does it entail? Room service is the idea of the 24-hour meal service provided by the hotel, where we can provide meals to the hotel, to the residents of the hotel, to their rooms, absolutely making sure they have the most convenience possible, because that's the core of room service. The idea is to make it as easy as possible for the people who stay at the hotel to get the food. However, the food service off-site delivery services are making it much more difficult for us to do that, because they offer a similar level of convenience. And also, the food service delivery companies are much more trusted by the customers because they've heard these names more often. They've heard of Chipotle, of Domino's, of Pizza Hut. These names are much more familiar to the customers, and our hotel's restaurant is not as familiar because it only exists at our hotel, which is why one of the biggest things we need to do is make our price competitive. And so, okay, so that was how I presented the first PI. So I talked about what room service was, but I also explained like a general introduction of what the main idea was. I'm going to make the prices smaller. And then after I presented a couple of the other PIs, I'd go on to explain the brochure, like I explained to you earlier. So I would look at the brochure. I'd explain the price changes. I'd explain what my plan was, what the new price I'd like to change it to was, and then I'd explain the main ideas of what I'm trying to communicate. And at the end, I'd thank the judge for their time, and I'd ask for any questions. However, this year they're trying to make questions a little different, and we don't have more information on that quite yet, but once we do, we'll let you know about it. I hope this helped, but remember, I'm not the super authority on roleplay or anything, so it's really important that you go out and find your own resources. There are plenty of web pages and plenty of YouTube videos out there that explain many of these series events. And talking about the different series events, I can show you a couple of other series events. So some of the other ones are human resources management, accounting applications, business finance, hotel and lodging management, quick serve restaurant management, restaurant food service management, and there are a couple of other marketing ones as well. All of these are great opportunities for you to practice your skills, and you can definitely find practice role plays for these all over the place. You just need to Google accounting applications series roleplay or restaurant and food service management series roleplay. You can definitely reach out to me with questions. The DECA PowerPoint is on our DECA website. So if you take a look at it, you can find all of our phone numbers. Definitely reach out if you have any questions, or all the officers, including me, are happy to help.